Welcome back. Just last week, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the One Big Beautiful Bill. It's a legislative package that includes a variety of tax cuts, spending adjustments, and policy changes. The bill is now under consideration in the Senate. Now, Congressman Michael Baumgartner, he's joining me now. He represents the 5th District here in Washington State. Joining me to talk through the impacts of this bill and your take on it. So, Congressman Baumgartner, to kind of kick things off, you've been a vocal advocate of this bill. What is your initial reaction to it passing out of the House?
Well, I think it is big and it is beautiful. It's an important piece of legislation. It's not a silver bullet to solve all the issues that ail America, but what is it first and foremost? It's important improvements in border security, improvements in our national security, so it increases funding for both border security and for our Department of Defense, and then it extends tax reductions that are very important for our economy. There are some controversial things in there with respect to Medicaid spending and some other things, but overall it's a really important a piece of legislation for the American people.
And on Medicaid, so you've advocated in your campaign for reducing reckless government spending and curbing national debt. So we know the Congressional Budget Office projects the bill will add about $3.8 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. So how do you reconcile your support for this bill with also the fiscal responsibility commitments you have?
Well, on the spending side, it is the most significant reduction in spending in terms of entitlements in the last 30 years. So what the Big Beautiful Bill does is it puts work requirements into able-bodied people in Medicaid and to folks on food stamps, and then it stops incentivizing states to put illegal migrants on federal health care. So those two measures alone will save about $2 trillion over the course of the bill. And then there's some disagreement on how the CBO scores the deficit impacts. And so wouldn't necessarily agree with all of their accounting, but what the important thing is for spending is that actually it's curbing entitlements, which again, this is the first time this has happened in 30 years. That's very politically difficult to do. And so it is going to be an important measure for the budget moving forward.
And Congressman, in previous conversations, you've mentioned to me that there will be an increase in Medicaid in the following year. But I guess to follow up with that, we do know that the Congressional Budget Office estimates that 7 million people will lose out or not have any coverage. So isn't it misleading to frame that as an increase when really fewer people will have access to health care?
Well, this shows you how broken Medicaid has become and the increase in the rate of spending. Even after these reductions, these work requirements, there will still be more money spent on Medicaid next year than there is this year. I think most American people would call that an increase in spending. If you're in government, maybe that's a decrease. But yeah, right now.
But it still impacts 7 million people.
Well, that's right. So the cost savings come from the fact that adding those work requirements are going to incentivize people that are currently on Medicaid to go back in the job market, and then they wouldn't be on Medicaid anymore. And disincentivizing states from having illegal migrants means that there's upwards of 2 million illegal migrants who are currently getting, the state's getting funding support for Medicaid. So that would also be a reduction in the money that they would receive. So yeah, it certainly will lead to less people being on Medicaid next year than there is this year, or when the bill is implemented, but it still is going to be more money spent overall on Medicaid. And look, we're $37 trillion in debt. This year, the federal government is going to spend $7 trillion on the back of $5 trillion, and that's just not sustainable. So we need to do things that stimulate growth and jobs in our economy, so we're raising more revenue, and then also make reductions in entitlement spending to try to bring things into balance.
Well, thank you so much for talking through that with us here today and joining us here in the KREM 2 studios.
Anytime. It's always great to be on KREM.